sure that's all cleaned off. Okay. Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am going to be showing you guys how I make my homegrown jam from my homegrown muscat grapes. And then how I preserve it by the hot water bath canning method. So normally, of course, we'd want to just enjoy our grapes after they're grown and plump and delicious, but these are muscat grapes, so they have actually seeds in the center, and the skins tend to be a little bit tougher than like normal grapes that you would buy for the store for just eating purposes. So that's why we like to make it into jam or whatever we decide to. We've only made it into jam. Actually, the first year we made it into syrup, and then this year we've made it into, or last year we made it into jam, and now this year again we're making it into jam. And I actually wanted to make muscat. Sorry if my lights, my beautiful lights that I created, sorry, if they are kind of like messing up the camera. That's just kind of how it goes. Anywho, so, I wanted to make like a wine from them, but I did not harvest near enough. This is the amount that we harvested this year. The mice and rats that we have in our backyard, yes, we have them because we have chickens and ducks. It is what it is. Anywho, they like to munch on our stupid grapes, so we didn't get as much as we wanted to, but we're gonna make the best of it, and we are going to make some delicious jam out of it. So if you guys are interested in learning how to make your own jam from your own homegrown grapes, or I guess grapes that you bought from the store, then just keep on watching. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I put my mason jars that I'm using for the canning part of this process into a big stock pot. You can use any large pot that you have, and then I filled it with plenty of water, so it's at least like I'd say 1.5 to 2 inches over most of the jars. Some of them are only 1 inch, but it's over covering completely the jars. You don't want any of the rims sticking up through the water. You want them completely covered. And I got it to a roaring boil, and that means that even if you were to stir it with like you know, any type of spoon or anything, it would still be boiling. It wouldn't, you know, kind of simmer down. So then I put also the lid on top, and then I let it sit in there for 10 minutes, and that is just assuring that everything is sterilized and clean and ready to go. So now I have another smaller pot next to it, and this is what I'm going to be putting the grapes in. What I'm going to be doing is actually I'm going to be taking each grape and I'm going to be squeezing it in there. Now, you don't have to do this process. Of course, you can just put the grape directly into the pot, and then you can just cook it, and then eventually you can try to, you know, strain the skins out. But I'm just making my life a little bit easier, and I am taking the skins off now, and then I am going to later strain out just the seeds that are in the center. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and put all of the grapes into the pot, and then I'm going to get it to a kind of like somewhat of a medium high temperature and let the grapes soften. And once they're pretty soft, then I'm going to put them in kind of like a strainer and mush most of the grape through the strainer until the majority of it is in there, and I have, you know, just kind of like a pulp that's left behind that I can't use. I also want to just quickly mention that last year when I made jam, I made 2 different batches. The first batch I made with the skins, and ugh, you guys, it came out so bad. Like, I mean, it tasted great, but the texture was so bad. I'm never doing that again. So by all means, if you maybe like that texture or want to do that, like I said, these skins are a lot thicker than normal grape skins, so the texture was so god awful. So that's why I am peeling mine, because I literally do not want any skins in my concoction. And also when you're mashing it up, the skins will cause a lot of clogging to happen, and then you might not get all the juices you want. So that's the reason why I do it like that. It takes a lot of time to peel every little single grape, you know, just to like squeeze it out into here. It's gonna take about at least 30 to 45 minutes. But to me, it is worth it because I want my jam to taste absolutely delicious. And also, these skins are kind of bitter, just a tiny bit, not like a whole lot. I mean, obviously they're sweet, but they have a little bit of like a bitter aftertaste, and so I don't want that in my jam either. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, so now that all the grapes are squeezed into my pot, I went ahead and turned on the heat for the burner, and I'm gonna let it get to a medium-high heat, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mash it up a little bit with like a potato masher and kind of loosen it up just a little bit more, get it the grapes all nice and soft. Alright, so that masher really wasn't working like how I really wanted it to. So I'm using this guy, and I'm just kind of like going like this to try to mash the grape and get everything I can out of it. And that's what I'm doing. Just wanted to show you guys. So I ended up with 3.5 cups of the juice, and you really want at least for this recipe about 5 cups, but that's just not what I got. So for the recipe, it calls for 5 cups of juice and 6 cups of sugar. You're like, holy crap, that's a lot of sugar. But yes, that is how much sugar it requires to set the jam in order for it to preserve. So I'm going to be cutting down, obviously, but it did call for 5 cups of juice and 6 cups of sugar. So I'm just going to do the same thing, same ratio, 3.5 cups of juice and 4.5 cups of sugar. And I'm going to go ahead and add it back to the pot and add all the sugar now, and I will bring you guys along with me. Go a little on the thicker side. And you're going, as it boils, you'll see, I'll show you guys, there will be like a film, kind of like a foam that creates on the top, and you're going to want to skim that out, because if you don't, it's going to leave your jam with a kind of like a more bitter flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for this to get boiling, and then I'll show you guys where to go from there. Alright, so this foam that's on the top, you're just going to want to lightly skim that off as best as you can with like a spoon, ladle, whatever you have. And like I said, this is going to help make your jelly more stable, and it's also going to help it be sweeter, because this foam will tend to make your jelly just a little bit on the bitter side. And it's super easy. You just kind of spoon it all together and scoop it up as you let it boil. And you're probably gonna let it boil for at least, I don't know, every jam is different. I probably will let it boil for at least like 20 to 30 minutes before I test it. I don't know, that's just how I like to do it. It might cook down quite a bit, but I know for sure it'll stabilize. Woo! So yeah, just depends. I would just test it as you go. Also, another really good way to test it, and it's kind of like without even really trying, is every time you're done, you know, scooping out the foam, and you put your spoon up, check the jelly that's just sitting on the spoon, and if it's starting to gel, then you know it's ready to go. Okay, so I've had it going on the heat for about 30 minutes now, and I'm gonna go ahead and dump it, or not dump it, but ladle them into the jars. I have pulled out a pretty good amount of the jars out of the stock pot. I haven't pulled them all out because I don't think I'll need all of them, because it did cook down quite a bit. So I will go ahead and set up my tripod, and I will show you how I ladle the jam into the jars. Okay, so this is my next process. I go ahead and take the jar, and then I have this funnel. You can get it in just like the canning section, and it's actually probably pretty hot, so probably keep it on the ground or on the counter. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just ladle the jam right into the jar, and I have a bigger ladle. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that right now. It's gonna make my life easier. Ladle more at a time. So I'm just gonna ladle until about right at the bottom right here. Let's see, can you see that? Right here. Go ahead and take the funnel out, and then put it over into the next jar. And then I'm going to take a clean paper towel, and I'm going to wipe the rim, the entire rim of the jar. And then I'm going to grab my sanitized lids and rings, and what you want to do is you just want to get your lids and rings and put them in water in like a saucepan, and then boil it for 10 minutes as well, just like you did for the jars. You're just going to go ahead and screw the lid on tight, but not like extremely tight, and it's going to look like that. And you're going to put it off to the side until you're done, and then once you're done, you're going to put them back into the pot. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that I have my jars sealed, I'm going to go ahead and add them back into the water bath. And I turned my oven on, or my stove on. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and add the lid, and I'm going to wait for it to come to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, I will set the timer for 10 minutes. And then after the 10 minutes, I will go ahead and let the jars sit in there for probably about 5 minutes. And then I'll remove them and let them sit on the counter. So I will see you guys here in just a little bit. Alrighty, so after your 10 minutes of boiling is done, you go ahead and turn off the water, and then you let them sit, your jars, you let them sit in the water for about another 5 minutes. And then after that, you go ahead and pull them out and let them sit on the counter. And all of the tops should seal down, and if they don't, then a proper seal was not created, and then you go ahead and put that jar or jars in the fridge and eat those within the next couple of months. But if it did seal down, then you can go ahead and put those in your pantry, and they will be good for up to a year after you made it. I usually like to put the month, so I'll put 8/17 on here, that way I know 8/18 that it's probably not the best. It's most likely still very, very good, but it's just not going to be as fresh. And then so I let them sit on the counter for about 12 hours after I heat them up. and then after that I'll put them in the pantry. So that is it. Super easy. I hope you guys you know, take this tutorial and start making your guys' own jam. You can do this same method with pretty much any fruit that you want. If you guys did like this video, go ahead and do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and would like to, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.